Hello everyone, and welcome to my video on how to build a model steam engine without using any power tools at all. And this means no lathes, no power drills. You will only need hand tools to build this steam engine. I built this about 5 years ago, and I have no engineering skills at all. Did nothing in metalwork when I was at school. No power tools at all. But I wanted to build a steam engine, and I wanted to also show that it's possible for anyone to build a model steam engine without any power tools. All you need is a little bit of common sense and a lot of patience. I built this about 5 years ago, and it cost to build under £10, so very little money. I actually built two. The first one was a Mammoth Miner 1, based on a Mammoth Miner small steam engine from 1936. It was a twin cylinder one. And then I decided to try and design my own as well, so I built this one based on a Mammoth Miner, but it's got twin cylinders and twin piston and twin flywheels, entirely made out of brass with a little bit of steel. And this is how you make them. Unfortunately I didn't do a video at the time. I just took some still photographs, but you'll get the basic idea of how to actually build one of these by looking at these photographs. Now, as I didn't have a lathe or electrical tools, there's certain parts that you cannot make, i.e. the pistons and the cylinders. So you have to either buy them on eBay, or if you have got a lathe, you can make them yourself. But I did have a lathe, and I wanted to make this, like I said, really simple, so that anybody can build one without any engineering skills and any power tools. You only have to buy the pistons and the cylinders. Fortunately, I had an old steam engine in stock. Anyway, enough waffle. This is how you build one. Right. First of all, these are the tools what you need. You'll need some files for deburring and removing any sharp edges. These are the tools I used. I used a little fret saw, some calipers for measurements, and a pointed scribe for marking out. I mean, you can use a pencil or a Sharpie. I used a little hammer and a punch to mark the holes out. In this particular photo, it was for the base. And I used some wooden Jenga blocks, which was about the most useful thing out of everything. These are ideal for lots of things, which will become obvious in a moment. Right, I had one of these, this isn't the actual one I had. This is just an image off of Google, just to give you all an idea, because I didn't photograph all my parts when I made this. If you've got one of these, or if you can buy one, these are ideal. They're relatively cheap because they're in such poor condition, and you want one what's in absolutely terrible condition, because you won't be using any of it, only the piston. This will help you mark out all the sizes of all your components. You can use the base on this for your measurements of the holes and spaces in the base you make out of brass. The engine frame, you can take all the measurements from that. You'll need the piston. and of course the safety valve, because this is a steam engine made with no lathe or no power tools. So buy yourself one of those off of eBay. Right, here we go. I bought some sheets of brass, again off eBay. It didn't pay much. I forget exactly what it was. I think this one cost about £3. I marked out for the base. I think, if I remember rightly, I could get 3 bases out of this. So use the base to mark out and measure, or like I did, I actually measured everything myself. I used calipers and did it that way. And let's have a look. Right, so this is the base roughly cut out, and if you can see, there's a pencil line I've marked out where all the holes are going to be drilled for the base. I believe I've already smoothed all the edges off with a file at this point, and of course the fret saw to cut the square out. This is all the holes drilled. The base polished up with wire wool, and all the sharp edges filed off with those little files. So first part done, relatively easy. Okay, so the second part, you need to make one of these. I made 2 different versions on my 2 steam engines. One, if I can't remember what it was. Anyway, this is a piece of brass I used to make the engine frame. So again, it's just got a piece of protective film on it to keep the sheen at the moment. So this is all the sides measured for the engine frame and cut from the brass. The one at the right hand side, which is I've already bent into shape, and I've filed all the openings, and again all done with a file, little fret saw to get the initial shape, and then file everything smooth. That's just to show you how you do it. So this engine frame, this is the front where the burner fits, and these were the little Jenga blocks come in. Ideal for bending the brass round to get some straight edges. So that was the front of the engine frame, so the back was bent the same as well. Right, straight onto the boiler. I bought some brass tube off eBay. I managed to get the same diameter as the Mamod Miner 1 boiler. Again, it wasn't much money this, I don't know, £4 or something, but I think I could get either 2 or 3 boilers out of this. So, you know, if you're making 3 of these, it works out quite cheaply. Right, these are all the parts, all shaped and ready. This is a boiler, and just needs cutting down. The base is done, and that's the engine frame. As you can see, it's all filed down, it's all bent to shape. It just needs all standing up and soldering together. On what I was going to do with this one, but I never actually did it, I was going to drill the sides and have it as a nut and bolt construction, which I think would have been easier than soldering. Trying to keep everything in place when you're soldering is a bit of a nightmare, but it can be done relatively easy. Again, just to show you a picture of that's the base in line, and that's the engine frame. The boiler sat on top. So the next part was to make the engine unit with the pistons attached. Right, so that's the next part we're going to make. So again, a piece of brass. I marked an engine frame out. What I did for this, I took the engine frame from a Mamod Miner and I placed it on a sheet of brass and drew around it to get the initial shape of one side of this twin cylinder, and then I just reversed it drawn it onto the brass again, which gave me the twin cylinder version. So this is basically the engine frame just copied onto brass. All the holes were drilled again by using the original Mamod one as a template. Cut out the brass, drilled with hand drill and filed. The larger holes, this is all hand drill with a little hand drill. The larger holes are quite difficult using hand drill, so I went through with as big a hole as I could using a drill, and then I just got some half moon shaped files and I filed it to get roughly perfect circles. They're not perfect, but you can't tell, unless you look at it very closely. Right, so that's the engine frame again. It's just polished up a little bit more, and a few of those sharp edges have been filed off, and the little holes for the steam inlet and outlet have been drilled on this one. Right, so this this is just showing you how I bend, how you bend this to fit on the top of a Mamod boiler. I'd already done it when I took this photo, so I couldn't show it, so I've just used a scrap piece of brass. So the Jenga blocks went in the vise, then the brass, and then the brass boiler, and then tighten the vise up. That bends the brass round the boiler and gives you the perfect shape for the engine frame. Right, so this is what it looked like after being bent round the boiler. It looks a bit orange there. That is because you have to anneal the brass several times to get the bends right, and that's why it's orange, because I've annealed the brass, so it just needs a bit of a polish up. But as you can see, we're getting very close to a twin cylinder steam engine, all handmade. This here, again, some off-cut brass from eBay. This was for the flywheels, which were solid brass. As you can see, I used a compass to draw. I think I used a compass, or I may have used something like a piece of brass pipe or something, what I'd got lying about to get a circle, or a big coin or something, I can't remember. But however you do it, just draw a circle around there, and then you need your fret saw to cut it out. That's it cut out. Hole drilled in the centre, and you want a hole on the outer edge. So let me just have a look here. Oh right, yeah. Again, that's both of them. I've got 3 on there, so I can only imagine that the first one I did was a fail. That's the only reason I can think that I took a photograph of that. The stainless steel shafts are from a Dremel. I bought a cheap set of Dremel attachments off of the market. I had about 10 attachments, and they're only a couple of quid, and they have grinders on them and buffing wheels. But I wanted the stainless steel shafts, so I paid a couple of quid for this Dremel set, and I sawn the shafts off. I sawn the grinding edges off, and I could use the shafts then for the pins, and again for the crank. So that was how that one was accomplished. Again, you just cut your rough circular brass out, and you just file it nice and smooth with one of your files. You can get them. They're not perfect because you're doing this with hand tools. They're never going to be as good as if you use a lathe. But the whole idea of this is to make a steam engine without using power tools, so they're not too bad. Right, that's the 2 flywheels on the engine frame and 2 pistons, which are bought in old Mamod ones. Again, you can buy these on eBay for a few quid, or if you've got an no scrap steam engine, you can use them. or if you've got a lathe, you know, go for it and make them. So that's everything connected, and just another photo of it. I don't think I'd polish the engine frame up at this because it still looks a bit orange from the annealing, but I just wanted to put it all together and just see if everything turned okay, if the pistons worked alright, and they did. Everything was fine. And this was after a polish, I believe. Yeah, just another view of it. Right. Okay, this is my brass tube. This is the engine frame sat on top. I'd already drilled an hole for the safety valve, as you can see there, which helps to keep everything in place while you just adjust things. So as you can see at this point, it's really starting to look like a steam engine. I'd made two little hen caps out of brass. I showed them on this photo. I didn't actually use them on the finished one. They was my first attempt and I didn't like them. They didn't turn out very good. So I did actually remake those because I wasn't happy with those. Right, let's have a look. And that's just another image I took of the same thing with those dreadful end caps. Right, this one is making the burner. So again, a thin piece of brass sheet. I cut a circle out for the base of the burner, base of the wick burner, as you can see there. Just roughly cut out, ready for filing into some kind of shape. Right, the old boiler I'd got from an old Mammoth Miner 1, I'd actually cut a slice of the boiler off, as you can see on the end, and that was going to make the tank of the wick burner. So I wanted to use everything I could, so that was the tank part made. 2 bits of brass tube I had to buy from a local hobby shop. That was for the wick tubes. This one, again, it's the brass tubes cut to size, and a few offcuts there for the top and the bottom of the wick burner tank. That is getting ready for soldering together. It's a rough shape. I soldered it as a rough shape like that and then decided to file it down after. And I think if I remember rightly, I think I also soldered these from the inside because I wanted to get a really seamless finish on these. So let's have a look. Yeah, I just soldered it from inside. So soldered from the inside and then everything filed smooth. So as you can see, you know, this is one of my first attempts at soldering. It's not looking bad. So let's have a look. Same again for the wick tubes there. Little bit of brass soldered on the base of that one. File to shape. And that's the wick burner complete. I must have made a 2-wick burner. I forgot actually. So that's the wick burner. And that's an aerial view. The little hole at the top is a breather vent. I designed this one because I've got no tools to put threads in anything. I had to design this one a bit different, and you fill this one with spirit using the wick tubes. So you pull your wick out, you fill it with your spirit, put your wick back in, and like I say, that's a breather vent at the end. Just keep everything moving nicely. Let's have a look. Yep, so that's the wick burner again and the engine frame, and this looks like it all put together at this point. So what had I done here? So I'd soldered some end caps on the boiler. The engine frame was all assembled and soldered together, and that was it. It was complete. I just got to make a boiler band for this. I'd not done the boiler band at this point, and also the chimney, I'd not got no brass tube the right diameter of that, so that old boiler what I cut up to make the wick burner from, I took the chimney off that and reused it. And that is it. That is how to make your own twin cylinder steam engine out of brass for very little money if you have no engineering skills and you've got no tools. For very little money. Like I say, this cost under a tenner. I think I bought all the stuff to make 3. I actually made 2. So the cost of everything to make the 3, I think was about, it was under a tenner, probably about £6-7 each to make 3, but I only made 2. Anyway, I hope anybody who wants to have a go at making a steam engine, I hope you find this useful. You don't need any tools apart from hand tools. Get yourself an old Mammoth miner off the internet, a scrap one, as rusty and dirty as possible. Use that to get your measurements and to get all your holes drawn in the right place, and to get a template for your engine frame. Just reverse the engine frame on your piece of brass to make it a twin cylinder. Make yourself one of these. It didn't take long. It only a few hours to make. I don't know, a couple of days, 2 or 3 hours a day or something, if I remember rightly. And make yourself a steam engine. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.